Right, we have our guest already in the studio. As I had introduced them earlier in the show. We have with us Senator Professor Anyang Nyong'o, who is a senator from Kisumu. We have with us also Honorable Kipruto Arap Kiro, who is a deputy leader of the ANC, also a former Minister of Agriculture. Also, we have with us Dr. Shem Ochuodho, who is a global leader of the Kenya Diaspora Alliance, and Honorable Alice Wahome. She is a member of parliament from Kandara. Once more, good morning, gentlemen and lady. Thank you. Okay, looking at the stories that we've done, let's just begin from where we started with the Coast region, where we have also the Jubilee fraternity making a foray there. A lot of allegations have come to the fore in regard to the integrity of the IEBC with their voter registration and also their system right now of hacking. And they say that this is especially coming from Honorable Duale, that we have politicians from the opposition who are actually on the forefront of making sure that the IEBC infrastructure is hacked into. Professor Senator Anyang Nyong'o, you want to react to that?
Well, I don't know. I think Duale could have been more specific. I think like that you just don't talk about off the cuff. And I think like that needs to be ascertained and investigated into by the security agents. I know that there's a cyber crime division.
Yes.
In the security agents which deals with cybercrime. Because cybercrime is a very important thing. I mean, we have a very strong banking sector in this country. You know, one of the things that has happened even in the delegations in NYS is allegation of cybercrime. So it's not something to be talked about off the cuff without any ocular proof and evidence. And especially as we move towards the elections, I think such talk creates unnecessary panic. Yes, it is possible to hack, but it is not good, I think, to try and say it rather carelessly and irresponsibly. I'm quite sure that, as usual, as it is said, the guilty are afraid. I think that Duale himself must know a lot more about the hacking on his side, rather than throwing the ball to the other side. So if he had come with much clearer evidence, clearer proof, and if he had reported it to the cybercrime agencies in government, I would take him seriously. But if he just...
But listening to his tone on tenor, really, it seems, yeah, he has the temerity and the cheek to actually really come to the fore and say that, then maybe they truly have a valid
well, I think Duale has been known to be involved in several histrionic hyperboles. And I think this is one of them. I mean, I don't think a histrionic hyperbole helps in a situation like this where you're dealing with serious crime. Yeah, I mean, if he had said that we have discovered this, we have reported to cybercrime agencies, and we want this to be properly investigated, and we suspect, then it becomes logical. But to say as if he has ocular proof.
But saying this also in tandem with what we've heard also from the dailies being splashed about, also hacking a gang in the city, and they've hacked some, you know, a tidy sum of money from banks.
Exactly.
Aren't we bound to believe that maybe there's something sinister
look,
happening?
I'm not saying that. Look, don't take me as if I'm ruling out.
Yes,
I'm not saying it, but just like hacking banks, it's a serious thing. So by the time a newspaper is writing about hackers in banks, there's much more information that meets the eye. Okay? And so if if Duale is saying that, then there's much more information that meets the eye, and he'd better report this information to cybercrime division.
All right, but we have the opposition has been very mealy-mouthed on this very serious
I know,
allegations.
because the experience we had in 2013, and you know it has been written about extensively, where, you know, the information going to IEBC was also going to another server. I mean, that's not a fairy tale. That one is there. And what we're saying, this happened in 2013, it should not happen again. And we had evidence, and we put it forth. That evidence was also in the bundle that we were going to put before the Supreme Court. But it was never allowed to see the light of day in the Supreme Court. So for us, yes, we had evidence. And it was true, it has been accepted, that information was going to yet to another center, as it was going there. And at Bomas of Kenya, we saw cables. So, I mean, for us, that was concrete evidence, which could be proved. But then we decided, fine, it has done. The Supreme Court has made a division. We shall continue. But doesn't mean that something wasn't afoot at that point in time. Now, Duale is speaking rather early, and I'm telling him, rather than just make allegations, please bring out the facts so that we can deal with it. Yeah. Take the information to cybercrime. I mean, at that point in time, in 2013, I don't think we had as strong a cybercrime division. I mean, Shem Ochuodho here is an expert in these things. He may tell us.
All right. Let's hear from Honorable Kiro. You think this is hyperbole, as Honorable Anyang Nyong'o is alluding to?
Yeah, thank you so much, Debarl. I would have taken more seriously if the statement came from Kaiseri or somebody else in the security agencies. It may be diversionary. Possibly Duale and the team may be planning to do exactly what they are telling us the opposition is doing. It is easy for them to use the agencies that we have to follow up with this particular issue. And this is the irony of us creating institutions that are meant to deal with those issues. Then we pretend that we know better than them. We should have expected that to come from one of the institutions under the Constitution and under the law, for them to tell us this is what is happening and to identify the individuals. Otherwise, to say just the opposition is planning to do this is actually the height of hypocrisy and dishonesty. And well, possibly, this may be the first time Duale is going to be credible. Otherwise, he has made so many other statements that he has come not to prove any point, including the issue of Al-Shabaab. He said they knew the boys, and eventually, he seemed not to have known the boys. So some of these statements coming from leaders, either they do not understand the capacity of their offices, or they lack in terms of internal limit. If they have some internal limit capacity, that may actually explain why he's saying that.
Shem Ochuodho, you agree? Of course, we've had Honorable Duale speaking from both sides of the mouth in regard to, of course, the terrorist list that he said he has, and he's never delivered that up to today, and so many other allegations as well. So are we bound to believe what he's saying right now?
Debarl, I watched very closely what happened during the Kericho senatorial by-election.
Yes.
And Kanu brought up this issue that somebody could have been falsifying or doctoring the results. I do know for a fact that hackers can write algorithms or software that could change figures for Honorable Kirwa here, could go to Honorable Alice. It's doable. I was a bit surprised that Kanu didn't pursue it further to its logical conclusion. But having said that, two wrongs don't make a right. If a government side is being accused of having interfered with the results, that does not give the opposition leverage to do the same, because two wrongs don't make a right. And I'm a bit surprised that opposition are asking for evidence, Duale to table evidence. There are many claims that opposition have made in the recent past. They have barely tabled evidence. I think we have a serious problem. It's good we are going electronic, but if we are going electronic, we must have watertight systems. My only caution here is these hackers, you know what, there's what we call ethical hacking. You can do ethical hacking, but this certainly is not ethical hacking. But if I was government, what I would do is I would get these people, instead of throwing them into jail, take them into a special confinement unit and use them, because certainly they are good. If they are going to hack systems, even banks, just to be fair, one of our members, and I think it's a nation, has been carrying that story, Boniface Ateka in the US. They were to have wedded in December, but they lost about 2 million shillings in a major commercial bank. I'm a bit surprised the banks are not cooperating. They have no excuse at all. If we're going to vanquish cyber crime, they have to cooperate. So I think we need to take this matter seriously. We need to have laws that prohibit, that makes it a disincentive for people to hack. In fact, I said I'm without evidence. I wouldn't be surprised if Snowden, who probably is in Russia at the moment, could have had a hand in the purported rigging or hacking of elections in the US. Such are people that you don't vilify. You find a way to turn them around, use them for good. That's what I would say.
But if we have also this evidence that really harks back to 2013 right now,
yes,
and also the story of, you've mentioned the Kanu in the by-elections in Kericho, we know, of course, there have been allegations that really came to the fore of the regression equation that
Yes.
was used, the algorithm, right now. So how do we're coming to this election with so much misgivings, especially with the integrity of the infrastructure itself.
Right.
What should be the remedial measure right now to actually earn the trust of the public?
In fact, one thing that for my colleagues that I talked to, when the opposition did table petition before the Supreme Court, the presidential, contesting the last presidential elections, I saw, as usual, a battery of lawyers. And I was saying, well, if this matter is technology, I thought I would be seeing a flurry of renowned technical experts. But that was not to be. As usual, I keep saying that I think Kenyans over-glorify lawyers. It's like everything, even what should be a technical issue. That didn't happen. But I've also been looking for a technical audit of the last elections. I haven't found any. People say there was an independent technical audit done. I think there was generally an administrative audit. But in terms of a technical audit, I'm yet to see one. It should be very interesting to see an audit of the technology that was used last time. But I think our focus has been elsewhere. Having said that, I must go back also to the technical committee. The Orengo Kiraitu Joint Select Committee came up with a technical committee.
Yes.
This committee, I think we don't address it, but it's the one that should be dealing with all these issues concerning technology in elections.
All right. Alice Wahome, the serious allegations from Honorable Duale, there is no empirical evidence. Do you think he is warranted to say what he is saying?
I think the statement, Debarl, was made just over the weekend. And looking at the platform that the statement was made, I think it's a high-level platform which was presided over by His Excellency the President. And I wouldn't expect them, from the office of the Leader of Majority, to make a statement that has no foundation or no basis. So I would expect that there really are serious issues that have come out, and it could be quite early for us to speculate, and therefore I think that we would possibly want to follow that position and see that our elections are really not interfered with. And we can't sit and pretend that if it has happened elsewhere, outside jurisdictions with even better security management in terms of the electoral process, then it wouldn't happen here. The elections is a very high voltage period, and there are huge stakes, not just in Kenya. There are people who follow elections and possible candidates with support for money, with all manner of interests, and they would want maybe specific candidates against others, and those kind of people would go even a step further to fund criminals, hackers, for their own interests, but most of the times is with connection and agreement with the specific candidates. So I think we cannot dismiss the statement, and
so we cannot dismiss the statement?
I wouldn't dismiss, and it's not correct to say that Duale always makes reckless statements. I don't think that is the style. The Leader of Majority has brought out many other issues before that are correct. I want to strongly believe there is a deep issue. You remember even the last 2 weeks, there are people who have been arrested to hack a bank, and the security around banking sector is huge, is big. There is big investment. So when you look at our electoral commission, then it is possible to see that there is a problem. I'm following on the point that my good friend here, Shem Ochuodho, keeps on throwing some blows to the legal profession. And I think that is not fair. As a lawyer, I think he needs to understand, if you go to the theater, inside a theater, a medical theater, a hospital theater, you are not going to find mechanics or juakari or an engineer in there, possibly, unless so it is not possible that in a courtroom before the judge you will find an IT expert conducting the process of the trial, but they form a very professionals, form a very big sector of the legal practice and trials, because the evidence, our trials are evidence-based. No lawyer will actually manage a case without collecting evidence from various witnesses. So it is not correct to say when you see lawyers before the benches, people who are not qualified do not sit the front bench.
All right, before you even go to the lawyers, briefly,
I'm just saying that it is not correct to say that in trials, in cases, even in before the judges in the Supreme Court case, there are no lawyers who have.
Okay, I want to take you back.
There are no other professions.
Fantastic. I want to take you back to the story of the hacking still. Yeah. If you say there is, we cannot just dismiss it because there could be some evidence on this, there could be some information on this.
Must have been.
Could we also hark back to the Kericho by-election itself?
But before you go there,
yes.
Before you go there, Debarl, if you look at page 10 of that...
I thought the question was directed at me, or is it information?
I'm just giving information, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Page 10.
If you look at page 10 of the standard...
All right. Let me try and get it.
In the middle there,
yes,
there is a story, says Orengo tells Duale off on IEBC hacking allegations.
That's page 10 of the standard.
Yeah. Now, go to the last paragraph. The last paragraph of page 10,
Okay, I'm trying to get it here on the smart screen. The last paragraph of
page 10. That one there. That last.
This Orengo.
Orengo thing, the last paragraph.
He said this particular.
Okay. The last paragraph says the police are already investigating a possible link between a top politician and a cartel of hackers suspected of trying to hack into IEBC's database. I would like to appeal to Duale not to interfere with the police investigation, unless he suspects he sees himself the top politician, and therefore is trying to preempt what the police is doing. Because, as Ali says, it's majority leader in the National Assembly. It's a top personality in the Jubilee government. And as a top personality in the Jubilee government, he should be interested in good governance. And as Ali says, evidence-based statements. I think when you're a leader in government, you have much more responsibility than others. I mean, in the opposition, you are free to say all kinds of things. But when you're in government, remember when I was a minister,
yes,
you have a responsibility to government. And sometimes you may hold back what you feel as an individual because of your position. Now, here is a top Jubilee leader, and he knows that police are in top gear investigating this. And he makes a careless statement. I don't think that is responsible as a government official. And therefore, I think we are right, Mheshimiwa Kirwa and I, that although we are in the opposition, we are appealing to Jubilee government to adopt some proper decorum in governance, because it's only through that responsible decorum that we inspire confidence in the people. But then if you reduce yourself, or if you depart from that responsibility to engage in histrionic hyperboles on a serious issue like this, who is going to lead us?
All right. You want to respond to that, to my question as well? And
you were asking, you were following on, there must be something. Yes, I personally think that, and I had said, Duale occupies a very senior position, and therefore he must have been speaking from a point of information. Possibly you could say, because the information has not been brought out to the public through the investigating arm of government, it could be premature. But I think we have seen these statements before also from the opposition. The opposition cannot say they are not in leadership, because when you are leading the opposition, you are supposed to keep the government in check. Indeed, many statements have been thrown before that do not have any evidence, or they are not followed with evidence. So I think to the extent that there is an accusation of there is no leadership, and the statement is made without leadership, I don't think you can conclude that way, because we are investigating. I'm sure there is investigation.
My point is very simple.
Let me finish.
No, let me just
because
tell you.
I can, no, please.
Okay.
The top politician mentioned in the standard could as well be an opposition politician. I'm not saying it is, but it could also be from any other sector. So I think we should not preempt. Maybe the question is we shouldn't preempt, and we should come out. We should, and I don't think he means to interfere. Maybe he's It's right to be excited.
But my question is this. My question is this. You've not even answered my question on Kericho.
You're talking about
No.
yes.
My question is, hacking back to Kericho by-elections as well. There were these allegations of hacking, and we had what I mentioned, the regression, the regression equation, actually, that was used to actually, alter the results of the Kericho by-election. So is there any modicum of truth in that as well?
Maybe the reason I'm not addressing that one, answering, is because those were allegations that were made by people who lost elections. Unfortunately, they did not follow that allegation. And I think that was the lamentation by Dr. Ochuodho. After elections, KANU is a very major party in this country, and they have machinery. They also have capacity to actually follow up a matter either through the court or through the police. Okay. And so I really cannot say that it was true. That remains an allegation. It
remains an allegation. Yeah, let's hear from Honorable Kiro on this before we take a short break, and Shem Ochuodho.
Well, for me, when you're in the opposition, as Mheshimiwa Wahome said, it is our responsibility to put the government on check. And when you make a statement, it's the honors of the government to prove you wrong. Yeah. It is not for us to go to offices collecting evidence. But once I've said that, remember, the NYS was raised by the leader of opposition, and it became a scandal later on. Yeah. And if you are to play back the contradiction that we saw in Jubilee before and after Waiguru saga, was a clear demonstration that there was something afoot, even when the Honorable Raila raised that issue. They denied, later on they accepted, and they gave the responsibility to Waiguru. But when you look at that NYS saga, it's bigger than Waiguru. It is actually the central bank should have told us what they were doing. So some of these issues, and I would have expected Duale to call a press conference away from Mombasa. When anything that you say in a political rally, we hardly take you seriously. Even President Uhuru Kenyatta saying in Mombasa that, oh, we have done this as government. It is their responsibility. They have no business telling us they are doing this. They were elected to do exactly that. And if we are elected tomorrow, we are not just going to tell you after 4 years, oh, we have done this, opposition has done nothing. Where are the taxes? We don't collect taxes, or taxes are not collected and given to us. They are given to the administration in power at that particular time. So some of these issues either is lack of fresh ideas, or they have their own challenges and they have realized that the country is moving away from them.
All right. Briefly.
Debarl, one thing I happen to have been accused, actually propaganda-wise. Honorable Tuju once came out in the media to say, no, he never was arrested in Tanzania for hacking elections.
All right.
Both he and I, propaganda, one of the opposition political parties is very good at that.
I'm sorry to butt in. Can I just butt in right now and hold on to your thought? We take a short break. We'll come back with it. We have to go on a short break right now. But that's a topic of discussion that we have this morning. We will be looking at the party nominations on the other side of the break, also as Honorable Shem Ochuodho just finishes on his thought as well. So don't go away. Much more coming up, of course. And we asking you this morning, do you think the upcoming party nominations will be free and fair? Of course, we know the Jubilee Party has extended also their nomination, their registration dates as well. So make sure also you chime in. Hit us on Twitter. AM Live NTV is our Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 our SMS portal. Looking at these dailies, we come back to a panelist, and I'm holding court this morning with Senator Professor Anyang Nyong'o, who's a senator from Kisumu. Also, we have with us Honorable Kipruto Rapkirwa, who is the deputy leader of the ANC and also the former Minister of Agriculture. Also, we do have with us Dr. Shem Ochuodho, who is a global leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. And also, we have Alice Wahome, Member of Parliament from Kandara. If we just look at these headlines, Jubilee is saying this is very inconsequential. It's not really inconsequential, the storming, and we have 14 elected leaders now decamping to Jubilee. The opposition is saying this is very dismal. It is not a dent on your side. Don't lose your track of thought. I'll come back to you. Let's hear from Honorable Anyang Nyong'o.
Well, I mean,
you're not shaken by this?
Because I know the individuals who are decamping. In China, they said when a leader has lost the mandate of heaven, then he really does not hold much weight. You see, leaders can decamp, but they don't necessarily decamp with the people. I have even seen some people who they come from Jubilee to come to the opposition.
Yes.
You have to investigate and find out what weight they have really. Sometimes they face such stiff opposition within their own parties that they have to get another party to stand on, especially when you have this party hopping law.
Yes.
That says that once you take a part in the party's nomination, then that's the end of you. So if you know that you're likely to lose in your own party's nomination, then you decamp. So that's a scenario, especially in the coast, which is very strongly ODM. You're making your case worse by going to Jubilee because the people are in ODM. Even my friend Shabal, who I know very well, in last election, I pleaded with him to stay put, but he didn't. And I don't think, even in this election, he's going to fare very well. So we are not worried because we know the people we're dealing with. And we just wish them good luck in their new adventure.
All right, Arab Kiro, this is not a threat in any way on your side?
Well, I consider defections as a normal dynamic process in politics. And we are still adjusting really to have truly political entities that we can call parties. Because as parties are fashioned today, they are an embodiment of some kind of insecurity kind of journey that people run away because they are not secure for one reason or the other. Once I've said that, it's also important that 50% of leaders, sitting members of parliament, senators, governors, may not see the inside of those institutions after the coming election. And those who have defected may be part of the 50% that will not see the inside of parliament or Senate. So at times there is a bit of excitement and also is good publicity for Jubilee.
Yes.
But once the defections are done and the dust has settled, we are likely to see different dynamics emerging from the ground.
All right. Okay, let's hear from Dr. Shem Ochuodho.
Debarl, party hopping is a normal practice, as my colleague Honorable Kiro has said. I was glad that the courts did rule unconstitutional the act that attempted to prohibit party hopping. But having said that, I think particularly the minority coalition, if I call it that, I think is in a dilemma because you have good professor talk of, rather than saying that coast is NASA ground, he's talking of ODM ground. I'm not sure Honorable Kiro is very comfortable with that. It would be better if we talked more of NASA. They need to find a way to refine that coalition. But having said that, I also agree with Honorable Kiro. We're in a crisis. We don't really have proper political parties per se. Basically, we have personal turfs which people go into. And Professor Nyong'o did try with other people to come up with SDP and other such parties, which tried really to be ideological parties. But I think, as it were today, it's unfortunate we don't have true political parties per se. But in terms of, I think it's good. It's good for Jubilee to see people come from the other side. I've seen that when opposition receive people from Jubilee, they make it such a big thing. But again, at the end of the day, it's true. It's the leaders are not really, the leaders have just a vote like any other Kenyans because we have the universal suffrage. But yes, any party would celebrate when they receive, particularly elected leaders from the other side.
All right. So you think the opposition actually they're burying their heads in the sand? Yeah, they say this is very inconsequential.
They are. We are celebrating, and they cannot be very happy and comfortable, but they can't go speaking about that. There is a shift in the coast region. Unless one doesn't want to see that. We had very little vote in the coast region. The turnout of these people and the mood can indicate to you clearly that there is a shift and the Jubilee movement is making serious inroads into a region hitherto that was supporting ODM. There was also Wiper votes in Mombasa. And clearly Wiper is not comfortably sitting in the court. So elected leaders, even if we would say that 50% there is no elected leader who doesn't have a vote. And that vote will follow them, certainly. To that extent, there is a very major vote that has moved from the court. And you cannot assume that because the leaders are not doing well. That is a general statement anybody would want to splash around, but I don't think that can be taken to be that there is no vote that moves with elected leaders. And indeed, if actually the Legion is still coded, fully coded, then anybody who is losing would prefer to stay within that party so that actually, were they to lose, then they are still within a party that is popular. But the elected leaders will not want to lose, and they are looking for better support. I believe they can see that we have also worked. You look at the bottom of page of that Nation paper, the headline, and the statement below the huge crowd. His Excellency also listed several of the projects that Jubilee has achieved.
All right.
I think Kirwa has a problem with that. Being a former minister, he knows a government that wants to be re-elected must show to the people what they delivered within their term. And I think it is right and fair to use this is a public platform, because also the people want to know what did you do during the last period that we gave you the mandate. So it is right and proper forum which the president used to say, look, this is what we've done, and this is where we are, and we would want to be re-elected to complete their projects remaining, and even to really also.
All right.
Yeah.
But Debarl, you know, we saw this in Malindi, and the crowds were there with them. I mean, and Jubilee put a lot of money in Malindi. A lot of money in Malindi, a lot of efforts. They didn't get it. That was not too long ago. And we know that both the president and the deputy have been going to the coast over and over again, even launching projects which are not there. And the people are not fools. They know that, you know, this is a gimmick. These are gimmicks, you know. And I think that Jubilee is panicking, you know. The deputy president has been going to the Rift Valley over and over again. And every time he goes, when he leaves, some party eats at his stuff.
That's also his home.
Yeah, but he's home. But the center cannot hold in the Rift Valley. You know that. And I'm telling them that really.
No, I don't know that.
Well, I'm sorry you don't know that, but you should. You should.
You'll be surprised.
And you know, you see, I'm speaking as a former Secretary General of ODM, and I know the coast very well. Okay. Now, of course, Shem is right. We're in NASA, definitely, but we can't forget the past. All the MCAs in Mombasa County Assembly are ODM, so that's the truth. Evidence-based facts. So I'm saying that, look, now we are in NASA. We bring the strength of ODM into NASA because we know NASA is the coalition, definitely. I'm not ignorant of that. But Shem has a problem with the ODM. Every time he says something, he must have a snipe at ODM. I don't know why. I think he behaves like a jilted lady. I mean, I'm so sorry about that.
Why
Shem.
not like a jilted man?
No.
I think a good professor should change that.
Okay, we'll come
There's
to
only
jilted
one
person.
lady here.
I don't know, because I've been noticing it. He will seek every opportunity
To bash.
I don't know. I mean, it's very funny.
Maybe for clarification, it's not just ODM. Jubilee is the problem, but NASA is not the solution.
What is
So,
the solution? Is the solution Shem Ochuodho?
ODM,
I mean, you can't say NASA is not the solution.
if you protect
The
me,
diaspora can't be
maybe,
the
okay,
solution.
if you protect me from Professor Debarl,
I think they are populists, but they don't reflect any reality.
it's very unfortunate to hear a good professor who we took to be an ideologue shifting and taking this kind of position, but it's not surprising. But having said that, I have concerns when the opposition, we had expected opposition or minority coalition to behave like the government in waiting. So when they said, well, the government people should not make reckless statements, but opposition should be free to make it, I get worried, because is that really a government in waiting? It should be responsible on both sides. But having said that, I said an unnamed opposition party has been spreading rumor, unfortunately, that some of us assisted President Uhuru to steal elections by hacking. They also went further to say...
Some of you, if you mention some of you, who do you mean some of you?
Well, for the more recent one, they said it was Honorable Tuju and I, that we went to Tanzania. I was purportedly in jail in Tanzania. I haven't been in Tanzania. In fact, even friends were calling me that we were assisting, trying to hack elections in Tanzania. Friends were calling me even when I was in Juba. We understand, how come your phone is ringing? Now, you don't really, propaganda really is not the right way to go. But having said that, we have a big problem of cybersecurity in this country. We need to have watertight laws. We need to have deterrent measures, something that makes it so unattractive that anybody doesn't attempt to hack elections. We also lack standards in ICTs. Everybody is an ICT expert. Even the political parties, I see them present people as experts. Even IEBC. All right. As Diaspora Alliance, we've tabled to IEBC. We have experts, global. Some do provide cybersecurity for New York banks who are willing to help. But ethically, when we have these quacks purporting to be experts, they don't have the ethical training, because I said ethical hacking is allowed, but this kind of hacking is not ethical.
Thank you. There's a tweet there on air. They say that the same crowd was experienced. All right, it's just, if you may go back to that particular tweet, the same crowd that we saw at the coast was also seen in Meru. And of course, the Jubilee administrations, they slighted it off and said that one is not really something that they should be shaken about. I think, Honorable Kiro, you want to respond to this, because also in Nyeri, I think the tectonic plates are shifting, because right now the leaders are saying we will not actually, vote for Uhuru because of the projects which have not been completed in Meru right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to assure the Honorable Wahome that I have a lot of respect for the president. And when I'm advising him because I also have some measure of experience. The only way, I don't mind them displaying the projects they have done. That is within their right. But they should do two things. They should not talk about the opposition not doing anything, because you are not expected to do anything other than keep the government on check. Number two, they should not be launching so many projects that they know within the time allotted between now and August, those projects may not be completed. We've seen this before, and we've been around. It was slightly much longer in politics than some of the members of the government. Number two, I would have expected the president to deal with issue of squatter and the injustices that have happened at the coast in terms of land acquisition and the issues of, and that should have been the theme. That we did this in Lamu the other day, and we are doing this progressively. And this is the policy of Jubilee in terms of the squatters and the landless, not only at the coast, but all over the country. So these are some of the issues you expect a government to deal with, but not to lament what opposition has not done, not to lambast the Governor Joho, as if that is the main problem that they have as Jubilee.
All right. I want to draw you.
There is a point of information. You see, the president referred to Joho as the governor of Mombasa, which he is. And the governor has received over 40 billion shillings. So it is right for the president to put also Joho to task. Because even if he's in the opposition, we have monies that have gone to the counties. And the counties cannot also be let free in terms of showing what they have delivered. I think the president was not generally talking about the opposition. We have over 23 counties, 24 counties, which are held by the opposition. And they have money. And the opposition has a responsibility to actually ensure that their governors are also not messing up the people's the kitties that they are getting.
We are not shirking our responsibility, but as the opposition, we also have to put things right. And remember, the 40 billion Governor Joe has received, 50% has gone to salaries and other contingencies.
Why? What kind of management?
What
Actually,
kind of
that's
management?
a good state. What kind of management will take 50% of Kenyans' development?
That is the way it is. That is the way it is.
But that's
It
how
is
the
not
West
about
believes.
Mombasa alone.
Those are things we should fix all over, not just in their county. Even in our county, we have a similar problem.
Let me give you information, because I think I like facts, by the way. It is true that the direction from the Commissioner for Revenue Allocation, given the realities in the counties, especially during the transition authority and the the personnel inherited from the former civil service, the Commissioner of Revenue Allocation, as well as the Controller of Budget, have said that the counties, given their huge wage bill, should spend at least 30% of their budget on development. It is tolerable if 70% goes to recurrent expenditure. Recurrent expenditure doesn't mean just personnel, but other recurrent expenditure. No. I am the chairman of the Public Accounts and Investments Committee. It's very easy for President Uhuru to get facts about the cost just by asking for the Auditor General report. The Auditor General report will show him whether Governor Joho is responsible or not. And from that report, if he was on that platform and said, from the Auditor General report, I can say that Joho has been irresponsible in the following ways. All he said is that what has Joho done with the 40 billion shillings that has been given over the last 4 years. That's easy. I think Governor Joho can come out and give the evidence. I don't think that is rocket science.
And the same we can actually try and...
Yeah, and that can be happen to all governors. But I do agree with Alice that quite honestly, for the financial year 2013-2014, which we have audited, there are many counties, both in the cord counties and Jubilee counties, where money has been used very responsibly. I'm not here to discuss those in detail, but yes, it is legitimate for President Uhuru to ask Governor Joho to explain, okay, but as a president, before he went to the coast, he should have been armed with much more evidence.
Right.
So that when he speaks on the platform, he speaks both as a Jubilee leader and somebody who's responsible as the president.
All right, could we also flip the coin to this other side of Meru? Because this is also the shuffling of blame that is happening in Meru County as well because of the undelivered projects. Because you actually point your accusatory finger to the dead hand of bureaucracy in government, especially when it comes to procurement.
I think people who have not delivered will always want to look for a scapegoat or an excuse. I think there is sufficient money for the last 4 years that has reached counties. That's what I'm saying. And the president made a statement to indicate that instead of just criticizing what I have not done as the national government,
yes,
you as the governor of that county or any other county, first can you line up what you have done with the money you have received. I think in Meru County, you remember there were 2 members of parliament that were in ODM and elected on ODM. So, so for Honorable Raila to be received, and in any case also, I think that indicates tolerance and maturity of Meru as a region, because it is campaign period. I think it would have been unfortunate if they screamed or they threw stones at the opposition leader.
Right. Yeah. Honorable Kiru, I want to draw your attention to what is on the front page of the Star right now.
Where is the Star?
The Star. You don't have the Star?
No, there's no Star here. No.
Okay, we'll get you in a moment. The Star should be here because we have it. What we have on the front page of the Star, if we may just pick up the Star so that our guest may see, in light of what Honorable Musale is saying, the Star is actually on the smart screen, please. Right. Why I am best for NASA, this is what Mudavadi is saying. Yeah. And we have officials in Trans Nzoia who have said they will support President Uhuru Kenyatta or Kenyatta's re-election bid if their party leader Musalia Mudavadi is not picked as NASA flag bearer. The official said it will only be fair that Musalia Mudavadi is handed the ticket since he was the brains behind their lands. If this doesn't happen, we will support President Kenyatta. This is what Herman Malavi, the regional party chairman, said. You as a deputy party leader, do you concur with this statement coming from your officials?
Well, I support my party leader, and I just pray that he is picked as the presidential candidate for NASA. But we have to go through the due process, and that process is still ongoing. Jubilee, they are excited to say that we have not picked our flag bearer. And I know that's what Alice is so going to say in the next 2 minutes. But
that's casting us passion.
No, it's okay.
But it doesn't worry me because we know the due process is going to take shape. If it's going to be Musalia, we're going to support him. If it's going to be Raila, we're going to support him. Kalonzo or Wetangula, because any of the 4.
So is the party speaking from both sides of the mouth? You are saying a different statement. Herman is saying a different.
Herman is my good friend. We've already told him that is not the position we've taken as ANC. ANC, we believe that we were in NASA to stay.
So is there no consultations when you're making these statements? As
well,
from
you cannot gag our party members, and they have a right to say what they want to say, but at our level, we really have to tell them that is not the position of the party. And we've told them as much. And we want to assure the people of Trans Nzoia that we are in NASA, not on transition. We are in NASA to stay, regardless of who is going to be the presidential candidate. And probably Jubilee could be the last alternative. Even if we were to move out of NASA, Jubilee is not the alternative, because we have a party called ANC, and we are not about to move away from NASA. We will be the last ones to move away, and we don't think any of the four is going to move away from NASA.
Given that he's the one who's mooted this idea of NASA right now, he will experience frustration. He says he's a self-pair of hands. This is the same statement he's been alluding to over and over again. Why do we think he should be the self-pair?
No, he's putting his claim, and many Kenyans know that Musalia is harmless, and he has the right to say what he stands for. So let's not read so much into the statement. Each of the leaders, they've been saying they are the best suited for that particular position. But we know the process, and I've always said, once the process is right, the product is going to be right.
All right. Let's delve deeper into the issue, of course, of the nominations and the Jubilee, not really Jubilee, the joint nominations also on NASA, which also has been a bone of contention. We're hearing from what the deputy leader or the General Secretary of Viper, Hassan Omar, saying, yes, we'll not have a joint nominations within NASA. Other leaders are coming to the fore, they're saying we will have joint nominations within NASA. Senator, we have Khalwale saying joint nominations will only take place in battlegrounds between Jubilee and NASA. It seems there's a, it's so muddy. What is a clear position of NASA when it comes to joint nominations?
Fortunately, we're a very open coalition. And as Shem Ochuodho says, we don't gag opinion, we don't gag expression. And this expression can come from very junior party officials to senior ones. But we know that there's a process for nominating our flag bearer. Shem Ochuodho and I were involved before the formation of NAC on a long process, first of all, of finding a candidate for National Alliance Party of Kenya. Okay. And it was very long and very frustrating. And we had similar problems. The most important thing is that when you are in a process like that, don't shortcut it. Let people express their views, let people express their preferences, but manage it. In this case, we managed the process. I remember when we met in the Golf Hotel in Kakamega one night, and we were now zeroing in as the people who were organizing the discussion on Kibaki, President Kibaki, and trying to convince Charity Ngilu and Michael Malwa. We deliberately that evening, President Kibaki was playing the same material with us, but we left him out of the discussion. Finally concentrate on these two and convince them that our proposal was going to work. Fortunately, it worked. Now the next step was when the Rainbow Alliance broke from KANU to KAM. That was the most stormy. I mean, it was more stormier than what we are seeing now. And yet it worked, and we nominated Kibaki as our presidential candidate. I don't think this problem that people are seeing as problems. I think there are problems which are manageable, and they're being managed by the NASA management team. And we have a formula. We have a process. You know, in these things, you have to put certain certain goal marks. When I go from this one, I go to which one? And finally, you know that when you reach there, you have built a consensus where everybody shall meet. So what you hear in Trans Nzoia, you can hear it from anywhere. Yeah. You can hear it from the coast, we can hear it from Nyanza, and we expect them to be said, but they shouldn't cause panic to anybody. I know that when they express, Jubilee jumps up and says, oh, they're breaking apart. That's good when Jubilee jumps up, because we know that they're jumping up for something which is consequential. And they do that so often that I wonder whether they stop to think. So I am confident that we shall get a candidate, any one of those four, just like we did with NAC in the final analysis that the others backed who the person we chose.
So are you also looking to actually come up with this candidate under the wire for the last hour or maybe during the last minute? Because other candidates are saying it is better for you to come up with a candidate right now. You stand a good chance.
No, let me tell you.
As we are heading towards the general election.
We nominated Kibaki 2 months before the elections in 2002. 2 months before the election. And interesting enough, within those 2 months, we came out with nomination rules.
Yeah.
So you're coming up with the same template for 2002?
Yeah, I mean, because we have gone through it before. Ask Kiro here. We are old hands. Some of these people just got into politics the other day. And by the way, one of the reasons why you see that behavior in kind of opening projects at that minute in Jubilee, these are Kanu guys. Uhuru and Ruto are generic products of Moi. So their behavior is no different from Moi's. Opening projects at the last moment, castigating the opposition, using foul language, although they're leaders. I mean, really, we have seen this before. It doesn't frighten us because we saw it in Moi, and finally we sent him home.
All right, let's say from Hugh Alice, today also we are swearing in the party's National Election Board Chairman, Poka, Wanyonyi, and 8 other members who will be responsible for nominations and engagement with Paul's team. And amongst also the raft of measures that you've taken as Jubilee is putting in place IEBC's, training their clerks and presiding and returning officers, your clerks. So are you working in tandem with IEBC to actually run these particular nominations? Because you had also suggested before that IEBC will carry out your nominations. But IEBC, they've actually indicated they're not going to be enrolled with any party nominations.
First I want to say that all of us know that nomination is actually a very critical process in terms of finalizing the candidates, preparing them for elections. And if nominations are not managed, and many times there is a tendency of conflict and violence and manipulations so that the electorate does not get the actual candidate that they would want to take to the ballot. And so therefore Jubilee is sparing no effort to ensure that actually we do our work, our nomination, the primaries are properly managed. And that is why the idea of involving the IEBC, because they have better structures, they have capacity, they have trained personnel to assist the Jubilee, and no single party in this Kenya can say that they have ever come out very well during the primaries. And that was the reasoning behind our request to the IEBC. Of course, looking at the time, the work ahead of IEBC, it's not practical and it is reasonable to see that they may not manage. So they will still. Your question is whether we will use them. You see, you cannot force them to use them. They have their own plate.
But I'm given to understand already on Thursday they declined running your
That's what
your
I'm saying. You can't force them. We have made the request. They have a right to say, no, look, we can't help. Because also when they come in, they want to do a good job. The funding is an issue, although the Jubilee was willing to use even our own money. But we'll still engage them. They have agreed to train our personnel, our director of elections. We have already announced the names. We are putting up that. The outfit is now in the final stages so that they can start managing the nominations. And to that extent, the IEBC will be engaged in terms of the regulations.
All right.
So going forward, we'll do a better job than NASA.
Okay.
NASA is still struggling with their final candidate. And clearly looking at the polls that were funded by them, this is an indicator where they are going and where they are heading.
Well, the polls, the people who are castigating the polls.
No,
they are
not castigating the vote. That is still their strategy too, so that they can finally come up with Raila Odinga. And surely, you don't expect to be a presidential candidate if you cannot bring any vote on the table. It is reasonable to expect that the electorate could have actually been the owners of that poll, because the Raila has been there, he has canvassed for the vote, so it's not unreasonable to see the results. And we are saying, don't give the electorate the candidate of your own indoor, behind the scenes negotiations. Give the people the candidate that they are saying, this is the one we want to vote for. Right. So these negotiations behind the scenes, and they have been there before. I'm sure they had scanned the environment, the voter mind, to see that Kibaki was the most suitable.
All right. Yes.
Debarl, it's very unfortunate that the only options Kenyans have are Jubilee and
You
NASA.
are not an option.
The reason why I'm saying it,
Give us another.
the reason why I'm saying,
option.
if again you can protect me from my sister here, it's very unfortunate that even the three of them, for whom I have a lot of respect,
Yes.
that rather than come up with a formidable third force, they have elected to go to these two, because these two are all KANU. You know, whether you look, whichever you look, there have either been chairpersons or vice chairpersons, organizing secretaries,
Yes.
or secretaries of KANU, all of them on both sides. So, and that's the problem we have. It's all tribalized politics. Talking of coalitions, this book captures how NAC came about. I was one of the founders, actually co-conveners of NAC, a cookbook of coalitions, how they work. But it's a bit interesting that, again, we're still stuck in the old thought of ethnicized politics. I really hope that, in fact, this is part of why I've been passionate about diaspora. If diaspora had come on board, I'm hoping that they wouldn't have been as ethnicized as we are finding back here. That would have brought in a new narrative whereby we have people who go by ideas rather than ethnic balkanization.
Do they have a candidate?
Until the diaspora candidates who are going to come, but it would have been better.
Presidential.
They would have, yes, even presidential, by the way.
Bring them on.
They will come. But it would have been better if we had, say, for example, the 3 million votes who would perhaps have been spearheaded a third option. But my challenge to Kenyans and appeal, it would be vital if we had an alternative that makes sense, not built on ethnicity. But Madam Mheshimiwa Alice mentions an important point of violence. The way things are going, if impunity is going to prevail, we're not going to get the leaders we deserve. I've seen the extrajudicial killings, people being killed, people dying, and all sorts of things, people fighting and so on and so forth. There are people who are prepared to get certificates by death or through violence. I am not too sure to what extent the political formations are addressing this, but this is a serious thing. Finally, I challenge the civil society in other countries. In the UK, for example, for a long time they didn't have an electoral body, government electoral body. The ERSL, the Electoral Services Reform Company, has been conducting elections for more than a year, starting with trade unions. I think some of our civil societies, without naming names, have capacity to conduct independent elections. But in this regard, I give Jubilee credit. They were prepared to give a third party, incredible party, to conduct their nominations. Why is it that the minority coalition is so unwilling to have their nominations done independently? Because that's where the rigging and corruption happens.
Let me give Shem some information, because Shem seems to think that in politics there are some Angel Gabriels. There are no Angel Gabriels in politics. Politics is made within the womb of the people. And the people of Kenya belong to certain ethnic communities with interests, concrete interests, and historical experiences. You cannot devoid politics of those historical experiences and identities. So you cannot criminalize ethnicity in politics. You can only transform ethnicity into some other kind of politics through leadership with ideologies. But when you have concrete historical circumstances where ethnic communities have come out of a certain history, there is no Angel Gabriel which can change that history. So political parties will emerge because of that historical context. And over the years, even if you go to Britain, Germany, and so on, over the years, as transformation takes place, economic transformation, that will change. Okay. So you can't jump history. Secondly, let me talk about IEBC. During the election 2013, when I was Secretary General of the ODM, we went to the IEBC and asked them to come and conduct our primaries. I had a long discussion with Swago, and finally he agreed. But when we went to the commissioners themselves, they turned us down. And one of the reasons why they turned us down was that, look, if we conduct your primaries, other parties will ask us to do the same. How many parties do we have in Kenya? About 40-something. We'll spend our time and our resources and our technology conducting their primaries rather than preparing for the election. These are the reasons they gave me. So it is not an untraveled ground. We ourselves have been there, and we tried. And they turned us down in 2013. This is true. And finally, Shem, look, You and I know that we are an ideological party. The biggest mistake we made in SDP is that we went into presidential politics. Presidential politics completely destroyed the ideological cohesion and future of SDP. And I've always said that in order to break the back of ethnicized politics, one of the things we need to do is we need to get rid of presidentialism in this country and have a pure parliamentary system. If you have a parliamentary system, you'll be like India. India is made up of so many ethnicity and clans and whatnot. Right. But in India, they have emerged over time ideological political party because they have a parliamentary system. But because we have elites who are interested in getting politics and grabbing, it is our time to eat. You find this elite resist parliamentarism. That's what they did in Naivasha last time.
But of course also, if coming from the point of NASA, it seems yes, there's a self-preservation in regard when you're fronting for the parliamentary system as well, that you want also to amend the constitution for the sake of creating position for NASA's...
Hold on. That's a different issue. The thing is that if we confine ourselves to the present constitution, which binds you into a certain politics, then you're bound to go that way. But if we reform this constitution, so you have a new framework politics, you have a parliamentary system, people will not behave that way.
Fantastic.
So there must be constitutional reform that brings parliamentarism. I insist on that because the constitution, as it is the basic law of the land. If you're going to form a government or form a coalition, you can't do it outside this constitution. That's what compels people who want to coalesce to say, yes, we shall get into government using this coalition, but we shall solve our political problems within this constitution by creating this position. Right. But if the constitution was different, those things would not arise.
All right, we have a few minutes, but I want us to open another topic here. Yeah. Honorable Kiro, if you may, just a minute to finish on your point, and Shem Ochuodho. We talk about also the clearance by the EACC, according to reports that even Jubilee, I'm given to understand that President Uhuru Kenyatta has issued firm instructions to Jubilee tickets to anyone not to issue Jubilee tickets to anyone without EACC clearance. And according to the president, he is determined to ensure that those running on the party ticket do not have quote-unquote excess baggage. Let's talk about this briefly, but finish on your point, Honorable Kirwa and Shem Ochuodho. We are remaining a few minutes.
Yeah, let me say this about the NASA coalition, that it is a coalition of parties, and we don't suffocate the political parties as entities. Mm-hmm. In Trans Nzoia, for example, ANC has over 100 candidates for 25 elective positions. So it means that they have 4 for every elective area for MCA. And Fort Kenya may have the same or even a bigger number. So we must allow each party to thin their list and see which area is going to be appropriate for what. Mm-hmm. Number 2, as you listen to these political players, Mheshimiwa Halwale, Omar, and many others, these are candidates. And we want to listen to their frustrations, their wishes, and aspirations, so that at the NCC, we'll be able to address some of those issues. Number 3, it is also important for us to realize that as a country, we'll still suffer from lack of cohesion. Tanzania yesterday was holding their CCM 40th anniversary. And Tanzania has come a long way as a united country. In Kenya, we cannot pretend and wish away the presence of tribes. And some of the political parties are formed because of the fear of the other tribe. From the beginning, Kadu and Kano, it was the suspicion of the Kikuyu-Luo alliance that forced Moi and the others to go to Kadu. And that history is still following us up to now. What we need to do fundamentally is how can we build coalition, where if I'm seen to be in NASA and being a Kalenjin, people don't wonder why am I not in Jubilee. And as I told you last Monday, I was put as a Jubilee member while I'm the deputy party leader of ANC. Either somebody thought Kirwa must be in Jubilee.
All right.
And I've written to the registrar.
Debarl, last week we promised Kenyans diaspora were going to court. Indeed, the court is being heard tomorrow. I encourage the political parties to join in the matter as interested parties on 4 grounds. The major one, not IEBC, independent commissions, not constitutional commissions, not complying with the rule of law. And of course, that's an important point. It comes into play also, again, to my concern with the minority coalition. Perhaps if we focused on that, ensuring that rule of law prevails. I have to confess, Professor Nyong'o here is one of my mentors into politics. But I'm a bit surprised. What he says today is, I didn't move from where we were with him. He moved over. And we have heard words from independents. People were told, look, this will never work. We will never get out Wazungus, the colonialists, using rungus, those who have guns. We were told the same with Mheshimiwa Kirwa here when we were trying to get opposition in 2002 to unite, to get KANU out. There are those who believed, no, that's never going to work. But we know with time it worked. The same thing that's being said today. There are those who believe that Kenyan politics must be ethnicized. I personally don't buy into that. I think it's short-termism. I believe that one day we're going to have a Kenya where it doesn't matter. You'll be judged by, not by where you come from, but by the size of your character. That Kenyan is going to come. And my wish was that people like the three, all we have in the panel here are very reasonable people. If they would work towards that rather than following the order of the day.
But I don't understand what Shem is saying, quite honestly. I don't understand what he's saying. The point is, Shem, as Kira says, you can't run away from the fact that we have a history in this country which has shaped the politics the way it is. We have been trying to change this history through constitutional reform. We have gone a long way since the 60s and the 70s to come with this constitution which has really tried its best to minimize and do away with ethnic exclusive politics. There's nothing wrong with ethnicity until it becomes exclusive, okay? Until it becomes discriminatory, okay? Now, this constitution tries to create institutions for inclusion and to fight exclusion. But what I'm saying is we must go beyond one last hurdle of removing presidentialism, because presidential politics is the home of exclusion. It is a home of ethnicized politics. If you go beyond that and have a constitution which will give us a parliamentary system, we shall be like India. We shall go beyond that, and people will be much more accountable because of the rules and not their ethnicity. This is what Kira is saying.
Right.
But you seem to be thinking, no, let me tell you, you seem to be thinking that because we belong to political parties now, which seems to be dominated by ethnic politics, we ourselves believe in exclusion. No. We understand why we are in those parties because of the historical development of this country. And we have been fighting it. People have died for this constitution. And we are grateful that this constitution is now here. But we are not satisfied with it. That is why we must have more reforms to create a framework and room for less ethnicized politics.
All right.
Let me clarify to Professor my concern.
Okay. As we are also preparing our headline thoughts, we are only remaining 5 minutes.
My concern is the constitution we have certainly is not perfect, but it's what we have. My premise is that can both sides of the divide ensure fidelity of the law, which currently isn't happening. We've seen laws being violated. The example of locking out diaspora, despite a Supreme Court ruling, is just one. There are others. The violence we see around is another. There are so many laws, and again, the violation is on both sides.
All right. Let's wind up a bit, because I'll be remiss if we've not really touched on this. I think we can start it today briefly as we're winding up, especially the issue of clearance that is coming from the Jubilee Party with the IEBC and the president saying that those people with excess baggages should not be allowed to actually run for elections. Are we forgetting also where the two are coming from as executives? Because they were also having excesses or excess baggage.
They still have excess baggage.
They still have excess baggage. So are they?
Are we the first to go?
They should be the first to go.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just hear from you. Is the president speaking from both sides of the mouth? Briefly, very briefly.
I think you will remember that His Excellency, the President and the Deputy, went through a process of the law, and they were actually cleared and they were discharged of the crimes that they were being accused of. So to say that there is baggage to that extent, I think it is going back to the same problem that had brought this
But
position.
if we may hack back, we
so
can look
now,
how they went through the system.
In terms of our own candidates,
yes.
In terms of our own candidates, I have been cleared from the party level to be able to apply for nomination. Of course, the board will now sit and receive those applications and give a final list of which candidates are where. It is imperative on any party to do due diligence of the candidates that present, of the aspirants, not candidates, that present themselves for leadership. Looking at even Chapter 6, I think the president should be commended for saying, look, if there are issues and baggage that you haven't dealt with, please attend to that before you bring your applications.
Thank you.
And I think that is where all the parties should go.
All right, Honorable Kiro, this particular development, of course, we saw even them, they went through the rigors of a system, baying also inductees with the ICC.
They went through the rigors.
Yes, they went through the rigors, but yes, before, how did they go also through the grid of the IEBC having this excess baggage, and they were squeaky clean according to IEBC? But let's hear from Kiro. Let's hear from Kiro.
Well, I don't want to revisit the issue of ICC. It's very emotive, and many Kenyans were polarized by that issue. There was a lot of untruths, even those who are saying we should have a local tribunal like Mheshimiwa Kibaki and Mheshimiwa Raila. They were later on vilified to have been the proponents of ICC, while those who went to ICC were the people who are saying, don't be vague, the answer is The Hague. But now, when we come back home, it is important that we respect its institutions,
yes,
and the institutions also must be of high integrity in terms of vetting, so that at the end of the day, if you go to an institution, they must also draw the line. If you are suspected, if you are already in court, they must read the law again, so that you don't just block people from accessing political leadership on the basis of suspicion, because our law is still very clear. You are innocent until proven guilty.
Right. Honorable Shem Ochuodho, your headline thoughts briefly.
I'm a bit surprised that it seems some of the good vibes, not that I'm a Jubilee member or supporter or apologist, but it seems to be they are the ones coming with good vibes. When Jubilee says, let's cap campaign finance, let's make sure that we only have people of integrity run for office, I'm expecting that the opposite side to be the one to be advocating for that. I think we cannot fault Jubilee for that. Going by the Chapter 6, leadership and integrity, I think that's commendable. But I do agree with Honorable Kirwa. Yes, we would expect that the adjudication process itself is fair. So that, and again, the Kenyan law is such that you're innocent until proven guilty. And I think in the case of the ICC, it wasn't just the ICC clearing the two. I think the Supreme Court did rule that they could run.
Thank you.
Fidelity to the law for me is key. That's not to say it's right.
All right, thank you. Prof, your headline thoughts briefly.
No, I think
also tying this to your...
EACC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, should do us some favor. And people should be cleared after very thorough lifestyle audits, because that's where the thing is. If you do a lifestyle audit of the two, the president is the deputy, I don't think they will be qualified to run for office. A serious, honest lifestyle audit, which takes into account historical factors. I was not talking about the ICCC. I was talking about corruption. One good example is Eurobond and NYS recently. Corruption is committed, they deny, then it is proved it's right, then they keep quiet. I mean, somebody benefited from it. The corruption in the health ministry. I think there should be a lifestyle audit of individuals standing for elections. But one last thing.
Very briefly, Professor.
Very briefly. Shem, it is not as if we didn't ask for this clearance based on people being good character. We have.
Can we do the audit, lifestyle audit on all leaders,
that's
not just including both sides?
That's what I'm saying.
That is for another day.
Why do you think that I'm just saying no?
Thank you.
You seem to be, you have a fixation of Shem on defending Jubilee.
Absolutely. We're opening up for another time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're really stuck for time.
You seem to be holding some brief.
Thank you.
Because we are
all right, thank you.
here.
Thank you. I really want to thank you for your valid points today.
Close your mind that you call it open your salvos. I mean,
right, thank you very much. We shall continue this discussion next week. Of course, I know there's a lot that we can talk about when it comes to EACC and that clearance as well. So this is a topic that we'll pick up on Monday. But I want to thank my panelists, Honorable Senator Anyang Nyong'o also for coming through, Senator from Kisumu. Also, we had with us Deputy Leader of the NC. This is Honorable Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Also, Shem Ochuodho. Dr. Shem Ochuodho is a global leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance, and Alice Wahome. She is the Member of Parliament from Kandara. Thank you very much for your contributions as well as your tweets. Thank you.